Oh, hey, Pastor Steve here, and yes, I need a haircut. And this is another episode of For Such a Time as This. Today, I want to talk about discouragement. In our own household, there's many art projects going on, but I noticed as the girls are working on these art projects, sometimes in the middle of the process, they too get discouraged. You know, there's tears, there's words of frustration and self-doubt, and as a parent, we have the opportunity to speak into that. One of the things that I remind them is that failure is part of growth. It's part of being a better artist. Here's just a few little pieces that our girls have been working on. But I was also reflecting on our own development, our own journey, that at times I too become discouraged with how I'm developing. It may be my own sin, it may be my marriage or family life or whatever it is. I can often fall into times of despair and really become hopeless. And as I'm talking with others, this is a pattern that even in the time of crisis and COVID-19, that we're all cooped up and certain people are really struggling with despair and discouragement. It may be, the loss of a dream or the loss of a job or mourning the fact that, we are more disconnected in some ways than ever. And as I've been thinking this all through, I think David really did have some good answers for us. So in Psalm 139, he says this: I praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And so in the time of difficulty, David turns his heart to praise, and he reminds himself that he is fearfully and wonderfully made. And then in verse 16, he says, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me. And again, he's reminded that even in the difficulty, every single one of these days were written by God, that there's some purpose in them. We may not be able to see it right now, but God is at work despite circumstances. Paul Tripp says this: if God controlled nature and history, so that at the right time, Jesus came to live, die, and rise again on your behalf. If he worked by grace to expose you to the truth and gave you the heart to believe, if he now works to bring the events of the universe to a final glorious conclusion, does it make any sense to think that he would fail to provide you with everything you need between your conversion and your resurrection? Isn't that good? That no matter what, God is at work, that God has us. He's not surprised by our circumstance. In fact, he wants to refine us in the difficulty so that we can become more like Christ. Even if we don't get it right, that we need to cling to the truth that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Have an awesome day.